Welcome to another Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm joined by the Mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, we're here inside the SPC again. We've been tortured by a fly. He's on my face right now, which you'd think it'd be a problem outside. We were just talking about, but so that ought to add a little bit of entertainment. Us dodging this fly that just flew in my eye right now. He's going to die after this, either during or after this, shortly after this report, just so y'all know. But how are you doing otherwise?
All right, man. I just hope it didn't contagious or got some kind of Ebola thing going on in there. But yeah, other than the fly, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, no doubt I'll be laid up in the hospital after this because of the freaking fly. But we have some great questions, so let's get right to them. Tech Freak wants to know, what was our first Tech football game?
You know, as best as I can remember, back in the old days, and maybe they still do this. Yeah, the old days. Back in the old days,
before television.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we had to walk to all the games. You know, but they would let you in at halftime free.
Oh,
you know,
nice.
you sit out the first half, you come in at halftime, and so I did that in 1981 for the New Mexico game. And that's the only game Tech won all year.
You picked a good one.
I picked a good one. So I think that I may have attended one game in either 79 or 80, but I can't remember for certain. That one for sure is the earliest that I know of.
Yeah, mine was my freshman year here at Tech in 1998. I don't honestly remember a lot of it. I know I went to it, and I know they won, and it was a lot. I had a whole lot of fun, but honestly, I was a freshman, first football game. I don't remember a lot of it.
The team that you played, and was it 98? What year? What? Don't remember that, or?
Yeah, I don't remember most of 1998, to be honest, since you asked. All right, Ghost Raider wants to know, who starts at quarterback against Houston and who finishes? Well, I think we both agree it's going to be Alan Bowman, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Who do you think finishes?
I think you're going with your Top Gun the whole way, because I think it's tight the entire way. And assuming Bowman plays reasonably well, which I expect him to, then I think he's going to start, and I think he's going to finish.
All right, DH Tech says Houston's Ed Oliver received a lot of hype going into last year's game, but in his opinion was pretty well neutralized. What did Tech do well to handle him, and do you think Tech will find the same success against him this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's the best of my recollection and kind of looking back on it. You know, obviously there was some double teaming,
well, yeah.
you know, and there was a lot of three-step drops and quick passes out to the flat, some of that. But, you know, I think a lot of it, and mostly it was Paul Staywars that was matched up against him. He was just technically very, very sound in that game. Yeah. You know, I mean, he doesn't, who does? You have the physical tools to match up with that Oliver. You really don't. So if you're going to hang on for dear life against him, you know, you got to have good footwork. You got to use your hands well. Got to keep that pad level, have good drops. And I think that's what he did. He was just technically extremely sound in that game, and that was the key to neutralizing him. And, you know, I think they can more or less do it again. Obviously, Oliver has heard some chatter about how Tech handled him, so he's going to come in really, really motivated for this one, and he's going to get his licks in. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You're not going to contain him entirely. But I think Tech can do well enough to prevent him from just completely dominating the game.
Yeah, so far he's been pretty dominant. He's had 18 tackles. He's second on the team with tackles for a defensive tackle. Is pretty amazing. He's been Ed Oliver. You know what I mean? He didn't play most of the second half last week either against Arizona, so he's going to be fresh. And I do think he's going to have this game circled or he does have this game circled on the schedule. That being said, the Red Raiders still have it circled on their schedule. I just talked with Jack Anderson earlier this morning, or earlier Tuesday morning, and you know, he's been going against Ed Oliver since he was a sophomore in high school, back in all-star like practice weeks and stuff like that. And so, I mean, this is a guy that, you know, the offensive line's going to be asked about constantly. Coach Brandon Jones is going to be showing film of him and saying, y'all can't block him, and challenging their manhood and all that. So Red Raiders are going to be up for him. You can't let him have those big impact plays where he just lights Bowman or whoever the quarterback is and creates a turnover. I mean, if you can keep him from doing that, because like you said, he's going to get some tackles, he's going to blow up some runs, but if you can maybe even use some of his aggression against him, you know, you can take advantage of that and spring some of those big runs like we saw last year. Like Trey King had some pretty long runs against the Cougars. So it's going to be interesting to see. That's going to be one of the key matchups of the game, without a doubt. Joey82 says, are we on the things have changed bandwagon in regards to the defense? If yes, why? And if not, what would Tech need to show you on Saturday to get on board?
Well, ask me after this game.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
But I would say no right now, though, right?
Yeah. You know. I tell you what. I'm feeling a little bit better about the defense right now, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's because, first off, I think it's entirely possible that Ole Miss offense is really something very special. I mean, that may turn out to be the best offense Tech will see all year. And for that reason, I think maybe there was, and I was guilty of this too, maybe a little bit of overreaction to some of this stuff. I think probably Tech's defense is better than they showed or than the results against Ole Miss would indicate. But they've still got to come out and do a pretty good job against a salty Houston offense. If they can hold Houston to say 27 points or less, then I'm going to be quite excited by the defense, and I'm going to, things have changed. But as of right now, still taking a wait-and-see approach a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Tech held them that few points. I think King is one of the better quarterbacks, probably top 3 quarterbacks you're going to face all year, definitely top 4 with Greer and Tamu. Like you said, Ole Miss is coaching. Quarterback. Then you got to throw Kyler Murray in there. I think he's going to be a handful with all the weapons he has around him. But it's not just King that you have to worry about on their offense. I'm not going to say their offensive line is tremendous, but their skill position players are very good. I mean, they have a clear advantage at running back. No matter who's healthy for Tech this week, they're going to have advantage at running back. I looked at some notes to make sure I get this right. Patrick Carr is their leading rusher. He averages almost 7 yards per carry. They've played Rice in Arizona, so I get it, but it's better than Lamar. He's a 1-2 punch with Terrence Williams, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because he ran for over 1,000 yards at Baylor in 2016 and was an honorable mention All Big 12 selection. He's run for over 1,800 yards against Power 5 competition. He's 6'2", 222, and Kendall Briles obviously knows how to use him. And that's another thing I'm nervous about, is this is going to be up-tempo. This is going to be that Baylor up-tempo, which, yes, this team practices against Tech in up-tempo in practice. But even Jordan Brooks admitted recently he didn't like going against up-tempo. And this is going to be one of the faster, probably maybe the fastest team you play all season. And then at receiver, they have a lot of speed. They have size and speed, which I'm a little nervous about. Wide receiver Marquez Stevenson, he's rushed for 120 yards, which included a 60-yard touchdown run. And he leads the team with 147 yards receiving with a couple of touchdowns. And he dropped one that would have been like a 60-yarder in the first half against Arizona. So, look, I'm not saying that this is Houston's going to go national championship or anything like that. I'm just saying this is going to be a heck of a challenge for this defense. So if the Red Raiders could hold the Cougars to under 30 points, I will definitely be on board for things have changed. The hashtag things have changed. We kind of talked about this earlier, Mighty Joe, but Red Raider 90 wants to know, do you think Tech is a better team than what they fielded against Ole Miss? And do you think that outcome was due to a series of unfortunate events that occurred starting with McLean Carter going down?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that Carter really made that much difference to me. I mean, because Bowman played pretty good. I mean, there's no guarantee that Carter would have done a whole lot better. So I don't think that's a big part of it. And I'm not at this point willing to say that Tech is better than what they showed against Ole Miss overall, because I mean, you are what you are, on your record sheet, and they got whooped, so I'm not ready to just forget about that. The only thing that I would say is that, as I mentioned earlier, I think Ole Miss has a really, really good offense. They were talked up beforehand, but I think maybe they're even a little bit better than people expected. So that may work in the defense's favor in terms of actually being a little bit better than they showed. They face some of these other teams that are not quite so high-powered as Ole Miss. The results should be a little bit better. But, you're facing some pretty darn good offense regularly in the Big 12 and with Houston as well. So, but, yeah, overall, I'm not ready to just discredit or discount what happened against Ole Miss. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think they're a better team than what they showed against Ole Miss as far as all around. I choose to believe that they're more disciplined, which I'm not saying they've proven that, but this is what I choose to believe. This is why maybe it's wishful thinking in some respects. But I choose to believe they're a more disciplined team. They're a team that has more heart than what I believe they showed against Ole Miss, honestly, and is better up front on both sides of the ball than what they showed against Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss gave up 41 points to Southern Illinois, so that's not a good omen for you. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't look good. But you're coming off a 77-0 win over Lamar. You have everything out in front of you. I mean, if you can take care of business against Houston and really get some confidence going into Big 12 play, when you got, West Virginia, TCU, Oklahoma State to start off, right? There. So, this game's really important, and I think if you are better than what you showed against Ole Miss, then you should have a very good shot at beating Houston. Mr. Mustafa Mon wants to know, name 3 areas this team has improved over last year's team, and name 3 areas this team has worsened over last year's team.
Well, I don't know about 3 on this. I mean, I can say that,
Do 1 or 2.
yeah, I think, strange as it may sound, I think Tech may be a little bit better at quarterback this year. And it's not because these young guys, I think, are necessarily superstars at this point or anything. But Shimanek was not exactly a world beater last year. I think as the season develops, you're going to see maybe overall better quarterback play out of Tech than what we saw last year. And then one other thing that I think is clearly better is the kicking game. With Clayton Hatfield. I mean, you're going to see a much better threat in terms of just kicking field goals and making sure you get all your extra points. So those are 2 areas that I definitely think you're stronger. Weaker.
Let me do a stronger one. I'll do one more. I think your depth, overall team depth, is better this year than last year. I know you lost some marquee, especially at the skill position players. Don't get me wrong. That's very much true. But I think overall your team depth is better this year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. That's a good one.
Spot. Where are you
weaker, on paper anyway, you got to say the receiving core is weaker, But up to this point, that really hasn't borne itself out too much. It may very well over time. But right now, that receiving core is pretty much playing lights out. But I'll go ahead and say that the odds are that the receivers are not quite as good as they were last year. But let's see how it plays out. I mean, you got to ultimately what matters is what they do on the field on a regular basis, not what it looks like on paper. Well, those guys are in the NFL. If these guys produce and perform, then they do. So we'll see.
I would say speed at skill position is way down. A lot of people don't think about Stockton. He had a very good senior season. You lost a lot of speed at the running back position there. And then guys like Kiki, he brought you knew that if they didn't double him, he was going to get you double-digit catches for 100 and 150 yards. You know what I mean? You knew Kiki was going to light them up. I don't know if you have that. I like the receivers, like you said, Joe.
Your man Keyshawn Carter.
Keyshawn Carter is emerging, but he's a freshman. You know what I mean? So we're going to have to see. It's only been 2 games. That may very well be the case by the end of the season. We look back and whoa, he's a superstar, which it wouldn't shock me, in the least. But through 2 games, I got to say, just the speed at skill position is not the same as it was last year. And then give me one more, Joe. What's another where you're down?
Honestly, I don't see any other that I'm comfortable with saying after 2 games. Definitely weaker. I just don't see it right now.
You're committing more penalties. Now, I don't know how much of it was at the end of the game, but I think you're averaging like 30 yards more in penalties than you did a season ago. It was 70-something. I don't remember exactly the number, but it was 70-something last year, and I think it's like 100-something right now. Now, it's through 2 games, so let's see. But I think that would be the only 3 I can think of. Eastland wants to know, how many wins does Kingsbury need to regain fan support? He says 8 or more. I don't know, Joe. What do you think? That's a pretty tough question.
Yeah, I mean, given the pretty low expectations coming into this season, I think if you get 7 wins, and the thing is, it's not retain fan support, it's get it back, because I think he's lost an awful lot of fan support, so he's got to get that back. And you get 7 wins when people are expecting kind of the worst out of you this year, then I think that might be enough to make people feel better,
Absolutely. All right, Mighty Joe, great stuff from you as always. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.